What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Groomer podcast. I'm your host, Alex Martin, and today I brought on my new friend, Erin Shawver. Erin has a really interesting story, and she actually came across. I'm not even sure, Erin, how we came across you, but we came across you, and we wanted to bring you on the pod because you purchased and took over a salon when you were at the very ripe age of 24, and now you've grown it. From, I believe, very humble, one or two employees to a team now. And I always think that's cool. I always think that's inspiring. We have tons of listeners out there that are maybe inspired and aspiring to do something like that one day on their own. So I thought we'd bring on Erin to get a little bit of taste of her background and where and what she's learned along the way. So, Erin, I know that was a long intro, but as you can tell, I'm a little bit excited for today's conversation. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, Erin, set the stage for us a little bit before we go back in time. You run Marcy's right now. Tell us, what does Marcy's offer? Where are you guys located? What's kind of the feel, the vibe, the look of Marcy's?
Yeah, absolutely. So Marcy's, we do grooming, boarding, daycare, and we have retail. We are dabbling a little bit in training. We haven't quite got there yet, but we're hoping to move forward with that. We are in the northwest corner of Arkansas. So as I said earlier, it is Walmart country. So we have like the Walmart pest store, which is like 45 minutes away, where we get to see all the cool new products and stuff that they introduce. But yeah, it's Arkansas is definitely hopping as far as everybody kind of moving into that area, and with Walmart providing like tons of jobs.
So I didn't know you were that close to the Walmart kind of campus. If my memory serves me right, wasn't it like last year or something like that? They like did a test trial with grooming.
Yes, they did. Yeah, we got to see that kind of roll out. And I actually stopped by and kind of checked it out. It was, I think it could have worked. I don't know. I don't know that they're really moving forward with it, but it's kind of a pretty neat thing, because I mean, they were dabbling in like, you could go get your car tags there, different stuff. So I think them hitting grooming, I think they knew something was there that they could definitely, possibly make some money from.
Were you guys like kind of on edge or nervous being around?
No, not at all. I think there's plenty of dogs for everybody, so I wasn't too nervous, but it would be nerve-wracking if they started putting a grooming shop in every Walmart. Then I'd start getting a little nervous.
Yeah, no, I remember when that headline went out, and even in the daily community or the Daily Groomer community, people were like, "Oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen?" Yada yada, right? But like, I don't know. I personally kind of thought that it would be pretty hard for Walmart to pull off. I haven't heard anything since, but you being in the area is kind of neat that you were able to like check it out and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the idea of like being able to go grocery shopping, you could drop your dog off, go shop for groceries, pick it up when you're done. That does sound, convenient. So
yeah, you guys didn't lose any clients to Walmart grooming, right?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, I mean I think that's you make a good point. Like, there's so many dogs to go around that like even them being right down the street from you guys didn't lose any clients.
Yeah,
okay, so you guys do grooming and boarding. You said a little bit of training and also retail.
Yeah, and daycare.
And daycare. Okay. So obviously lots of services, which is great. Give me kind of the high level on what are the best services for you guys, either from a revenue perspective or even from like a client perspective.
Yeah, so grooming is my big earner, which is kind of surprising. A lot of people usually boarding and daycare kind of pull in more, but grooming, we definitely make our most money in grooming, and then we stay booked out for most of the year. Most of our clients, they all rebook and revisit, and then boarding, daycare, training and retail. So those are kind of, training and retail are kind of at the bottom. But yeah, grooming is our top earner, and most people do enjoy coming to us just for the grooming side.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you guys are not only just cross-selling, obviously the grooming side, but a lot of folks will come to you just for grooming.
Yeah. Yes. just for grooming. I found that it's harder to get my grooming clients switched over to like daycare. A lot of them will board, but getting them switched over to daycare has been more of a challenge for me personally with my business than it has, because it's really easy for somebody that's boarding or doing daycare to switch over to grooming, but to get grooming to switch over to like daycare, coming daily, that's been a little bit more of a challenge.
That makes sense. I mean, I always feel like running different service lines is so interesting because everyone assumes that it's just super easy to cross-sell them all, right? But until you've done it, I feel like it's pretty dang tough and much harder than it seems. What have been some of the challenges with maintaining, let's call it 4 service lines there?
Communication is the hardest thing. Getting your departments, getting like the daycare team to communicate with the grooming team. Same with boarding. Communication really is the biggest challenge. Especially if a dog is coming for like daycare, also getting groomed, making sure they're not getting put back into daycare to get, all slobbered on or play rough again. So a lot of communication goes into it, but, because there's so many things, going on. The boarding and daycare people, they're in the back, they're hands-on with the dogs. They're not leaving them. And the groomers, of course, are, on a time stamp. So they have to get those dogs done by a certain amount of time. And then, so they're so different. A lot of people really think, oh, you can just throw them all together and it'll work out. But you definitely have to really do a lot of communication and moving forward with it.
That makes sense. So rewind to when you purchased Marcy's. Did Marcy's have all of those service offerings or did you add some on?
So she just had grooming and we could keep 4 dogs, and usually they were like favorites, like that client that, you groomed their dog every 2 weeks and took them home and you kept those. But yeah, I slowly added more services. I felt like just relying on grooming wasn't quite enough because you hit those slow seasons and you really needed something to kind of push you through those slower seasons. So those extra sources of revenue really helped.
Do you think that's the case now too? Like obviously at the time you're almost like experimenting, right? Where you're like, okay, maybe if I add boarding or daycare or whatever, like I can get through the slow seasons. Now, some 10, 12 odd years after you started doing that, do you think that still holds true today?
No, I think the grooming is definitely carrying its own for sure. And sometimes I feel like the grooming also carries some of those slower ones because when COVID happened, nobody was going on vacation, and thankfully we didn't have to close down the grooming. In Arkansas we didn't, and so it was awesome that we were able to like keep going and grooming was able to carry those other departments.
So looking back, would you have done it again? Like, would you have gone through and added more service lines?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you would still do it again. It's not like you regret adding boarding, daycare, training, etc.
No.
It's just like you were pleasantly surprised how much grooming's been able to hold you guys through.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. Okay, so I know we touched on it for a second, but when you took it over, was it just Marcy?
Yeah, so it was just Marcy and I when we started, and she trained me, and she's one of those old school, like 30-year veterans. And it's really cool because I think of it in this aspect, like when I started in 2006, I was 17 years old and just finishing high school, and I got to see kind of that tough, different era where like you groomed the matted dog, the owner cried and thanked you, and now I'm in like 2025, you groom the matted dog and the owner wants to sue you kind of thing. So it's really cool because it's kind of like the internet. Like I grew up through the internet boom, the cell phones and all of that, and I feel like there was like this boom in the industry where suddenly we had all these great softwares. People were putting out, like Sue and Jay were putting out DVDs, and Jody Murphy was putting out DVDs, and like
we like the old ancient era, right?
Yeah, and now it's
technique or breed specific cut or something like that every a couple months.
Yeah. It's definitely, I've got to watch the industry take like this little boom, and it's been pretty exciting from my start.
Yeah,
So
that's super cool. So when you were with Marcy, obviously you were just kind of, I would imagine, rolling up your sleeves, doing whatever it takes to make Marcy's Grooming and Boarding a, a two-woman shop work. What did you always want to, start your own or run your own business? Did you always want to take it over, or how did that all happen? Did it just happen on a whim and you're like, you know what? Yeah, I could actually run this.
yeah, so I've always wanted to be a business owner. I've always had kind of like an entrepreneur mindset. And then I loved animals. So that definitely helped. It started with a summer job. And I started working with her. She trained me. And sadly, she did get sick with cancer. And when she did get sick, I kind of had to take over everything. I took over her workload, running the business, and she was not going to get better. Pancreatic cancer was she was stage 4. And so she wanted the business to go to somebody that would take care of her clients, because you really just get attached to those people. And you want to make sure they're really well taken care of. And I knew them already. I was kind of already, that foundation was sat down for me. And so we, at 24, no credit, nothing. I did have some help from my family, but I really had to buckle down and get everything financed. And I was able to purchase the business and the property and everything on it in 2013. So
At 24, which is crazy.
yes.
What was the hardest part of transitioning from, I'm going to use this term loosely, but let's call it staff groomer, to now you're the business owner?
Well, I think it was mostly the drowning. Just drowning in work, really.
Yeah.
Because there weren't too many groomers in the area, and I was really, really busy. And I think I had that mindset, you can't say no. And I'm also really competitive too. So I wanted to be the absolute best. I wanted to grow. And I knew immediately I needed help, pretty much. Definitely needed help if I wanted to grow or move forward. So I had to take on somebody else once I transitioned to being owner. And new employees are an adventure.
Yeah. I mean, and I was just trying to look this up. How many employees do you guys have right now?
So we have 12. We do have some seasonal ones. As it gets busy in the summer, you need like extra help bathing or extra help in boarding and daycare. So yeah, we have 12.
So when you took over, and obviously Marcy kind of took a step back, you were flooded right away. And
Yes.
I would imagine most folks out there, whether they're in a, one grant or one van situation, or even in a salon, and maybe only have one or two folks kind of helping out. It's so hard to know the right answer on when I should hire, my first employer, or just bring in someone new for help. I'm sure it was hard for you. What was your mindset way back 12 employees ago? Let's say 11 employees ago, right? When you were like, I need to bring in someone, here's how I'm going to do it, etc. What was your mindset about how you actually went about and did that?
Oh yeah. So I'm really big into time studies. So I knew, okay, I could get this many dogs done in this time. If I could do this many Shih Tzus in this amount of time, and I had somebody come and bathe, that was kind of my thought process first. And then having somebody even come half time, half through the day or something like that to at least assist me. So it really started with a time study. I mean, and then knowing how many dogs and what I was really capable of. A lot of people don't do the math. So
Okay, so I love that you just said that. Can we zoom in on that for a second? So when you say a time study, was that basically, a way that you were tracking where you were spending all of your minutes and how it was adding up?
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And what would you do with that information? Okay, so I sit down, I've got my pen out, I'm tracking, let's say, today's Thursday when we're recording this, and I'm sitting down and going, okay, from 8 to 8:16, I gave this dog a bath, right? And from whatever, what do I do with that information once I have it?
So once you know exactly how long it takes you, you can say, okay, well, I can cut. It took me 30 minutes to dry this fluffy dog. If I didn't have to do that, I can get this Shih Tzu stripped down, completely done in that amount of time. So basically, I was looking where I could have somebody take that time off my hands and I can assign it to somebody else, delegate that time so I had more time to get dogs done. And that helped.
That makes sense. So did you wait until you could fill basically like a full day or 3/4 of a day with that time before you brought someone on to fill that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was terrified. So I am, my staff teases me because they're like, she's by the books Bill. I just kind of always follow, like, okay, I'm not going to take this step until I know for sure it needs to be taken. I'm not going to hire this person willy-nilly just because I'm over here drowning. I'm not going to do something on a whim. A lot of times, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful. I need to hire someone. But taking that step back and being like, okay, do I really have the finances to do this? And how much can I delegate to that person and use that time?
That makes sense. So fast forward to, today where you have 12 people, obviously this has worked. The system has almost worked to get us up to 12 employees. Have you changed it or iterated it along the way? Or has it remained pretty much the same where you're kind of, you keep a log of how much time, some of the extra stuff is taking. And once we get a certain amount of minutes, we're bringing someone else in.
Yeah. So definitely, I still do time studies. In fact, I'm fixing to do another one with my new bathers, and same with my daycare group. Just trying to see as far as, and it helps too, like as far as with the bathers go, if they have that extra time at the end of the day, can I start training them to be a groomer? If they're efficient with their time and they've gotten that skill down and they end up with an extra hour, can I start, having them help on the grooming side more, and evolving them to become a groomer? So it stayed the same, I would say, like continuing to do the time study, and I really do go off of that. But yeah, it's useful.
Do you do that on pen and paper?
I
Dude, I need a
I
screenshot of that, Erin. I need you once we get off the podcast to snap me a picture of one of those because I'm beyond curious on what that looks like. And I'm gonna put that in our community because I think that's a great idea. I've heard of how people will wait until they get a certain wait list and then hire based off that. But I actually like the introspective route you're taking where let's wait until we get a certain number of minutes or hours that we can fill and then hire based off that. Now, it does seem like you're saying there's a natural path for you guys at Marcy's where it goes from bather to groomer. Is that how most of your groomers have come about, where they started as bathers and then you guys train them in-house and they become groomers? Or have you guys traditionally hire in groomers and hire in bathers, and every so often there might be, a switch between them?
Yeah. So I definitely like to grow my own groomers. We start with bathing and drying and then transition into that. I've just found that when I hire a groomer, it just has not worked out. And I think it's just not necessarily, the industry is like the Wild West. Everybody says it. It's like the Wild West. I prefer my facility to be extremely team oriented. And I feel like if you've worked in an environment where it's just you and you're the one getting the dogs done and you don't focus on anybody else, you just don't get along good in my facility. I need people to be able to step over and help pretty much anywhere. And I'm really into cross training too. I want my daycare staff to be able to jump in and help a groomer if they need help handling a dog. So I'm very team oriented, and you definitely, it's more beneficial to grow the groomer, I feel like, than it is to have to retrain them or teach them that team building.
Interesting. I'm curious, and we're virtual here, so you'll have to do your best to describe this. But you said your space and your guys' business right now is very team oriented. What does that mean, right? Like what's maybe a few things I would notice if I, worked just myself out of my house and then you brought me in?
Oh yeah. So yeah. And I'm the dorky boss. We are doing the team exercises. We are definitely.
Oh yeah. Okay. So,
Oh yeah. 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 We
so like
definitely do. So at least once a year, I do like a meeting where all day we go over all the boring policy procedures, handbook stuff, but we're going to play games, whether it be like charades with each other or like I've had them do like an Easter egg hunt that had like gift cards or cash in it, or just pretty much anything. And they laugh at me. I provide food. There's always food involved. But yeah. Yeah. So I want it to be fun for them, but I love when I walk in and I can see two groomers working on a dog, and one's doing one side of the dog, the other's doing the other. The owner might be waiting in the lobby and they're impatient, and that team member is able to come over and say, hey, I know you're working on this dog. The owner's in the lobby. We have to get this done. And they step up and help their team member. And that's the way it should be, So.
And obviously it's worked out because,
oh yeah,
I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here saying that, hey, I've successfully grown my team to 12 folks in-house. And I would imagine, do you see the effects of people staying? Like, do you guys have to deal with lots of turnover like others out there? Or has this team kind of oriented mindset kept people maybe a little bit longer than you would have thought?
Oh yeah, I've definitely been blessed. I have to say I've had some amazing past groomers that have stayed. Some of them have stayed like 8 years with me, 5. I have some current ones that are on like 5 and 3 right now, and they're just great. I think also you just have to create an environment that they want to stay in. I try to spoil them too as well, make sure that they're always, well taken care of. I'd love to pay them more. I always tell them, I'm like, I'm going to get you more money. But we have a really good culture. Everybody really, I hope, enjoys it,
What has some of the training looked like? I'm curious because, I mean, I can imagine and I can see it, and I'm wincing myself at the thought of having to train 12 in-house groomers.
Yeah.
Now, I know not everyone's full-time, but you did say you like to cross-train them. So like, what does some of that training look like?
Absolutely. So at first it was me just hands-on working with them. And I would just take them one-on-one. And as we grew, I couldn't necessarily be with everybody. And so I started utilizing my other team members, but then I realized when those team members maybe left or they were too busy, they weren't able to really do any training. And I started, thankfully, as time changed, we have so much we can utilize. So I'm definitely like, hey, let's sit down and we're going to either Google this or we're going to YouTube this and we're going to watch this video together. You're going to watch this and I might have like, I'm going to meet with you later and we're going to talk about it kind of thing. So
do you have like a syllabus or something like that you've built out? Like you say you're by the book. What'd you say? By the book.
Yeah.
I'm so what I look like.
Yeah, I have actually been working on like roadmaps for my crew. I do have kind of like a step-by-step in my head that I've always like my team kind of knows, but I'm definitely working on like some kind of handbook and putting like by 90 days, I want you to be able to do this. And by this many days, I've been working on that. But I utilize Paragon. I love them. And then I also utilize like Super Styling TV where they can watch videos. we can talk about it and go back and forth, because I'm a visual learner. Like, I like to see it like a million times, and then I can, repeat it. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that makes sense. So Paragon, Super Styling. Well, I mean, like, what are some YouTube channels you might tell some of your groomers to look at?
We actually do watch a lot of like the goofy golden doodle videos where the breeder's like, make my dog look like this. And I'm like, so what are they wanting exactly? Let's dissect what these doodle owners are being told and what they're wanting, so we can adapt it and utilize it. So yeah, we watch a lot of those for sure. And now, like, there's so much on Facebook and stuff, and great reels, and like people posting, that you can find something that is really cool, that you're like, oh yeah, look at this person grooming this dog right here, let's check it out. So
I mean, that's pretty cool. And honestly, like, I've seen, like, you were trained. I mean, honestly, we were just talking about this in the beginning. Like, you've seen the evolution, and like, you were probably trained pretty hands-on first, right? And then you're seeing some of, like, maybe the DVDs from back in the day, and now you're training your team off Facebook Reels, right? And YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, it's pretty cool to see that evolution of education. And everyone does stuff differently, but I'm always curious how people that are able to groom in-house or train in-house, how they're able to do it. And obviously you've got a system that works pretty well for you. So that's pretty impressive. One question that people might be wondering in the background is, like, how do you incentivize or, even use the broader word, like, inspire your team to, like, keep working hard? Because it's something that we talk about and think about a lot, is that it's a groomer's market, right? Like, if you're a qualified groomer, you can pretty much set your price and your terms wherever, because people need you, right? And I always get curious about big teams like yours, where, I'm sure you have people that want to go out and maybe go start their own business, or you might have people all the time, maybe not all the time, but you might have folks on your team that want more, right? So I'm just curious what you do as a business owner to inspire and incentivize your team to keep working hard together for Marcy's.
yeah, so I'm one of those that I provide everything, as far as like all their equipment. I pay for their sharpening. If they want something, what's really great is they just tell me what they want, and I'm going to go buy it for them. I'm all about conferences. Mine will always attend conferences, whether they're virtual or I took the girls to the Groom, the one in Hershey, and I paid for their flight, paid for their hotel, paid for their tickets to go. They just paid for meals, and that's it. And cool. Yeah, and when they go,
go ahead.
When they go, they get to pick out their own scissors, whatever they want. So I want to set them up for success, and I don't want them to have to worry about that kind of stuff. As a business, you should be covering that stuff. At least that's what I think. And I think they shouldn't have to go home and think, oh my gosh, I have to pay this sharpening bill. How am I going to do this? So.
Yeah, 100%. I love the fact that you cover stuff like that. I am curious, like, from a business owner, again, I love that you're by the book bills. I'm going to keep leaning in on that. From a by the book perspective, how do you see the ROI of that paying out? Because, for example, I could sit here and be like, yeah, I mean, that sounds great, Erin. Like, I would love to give my team that too, but I don't know if I can barely afford my own flight to get to Hershey and stuff like that. How am I supposed to afford, 3 of my groomers and make that make sense? Like, how do you think about the ROI of paying for that sort of stuff for your groomers?
Yeah, I mean, it's beneficial for your business. It's going to grow. You train them and educate them more, your business is going to grow. But you have to set aside that money. You have to say, okay, forever how many grooms this groomer is doing, we have to set aside this amount of money so that they can attend. Or even, I mean, everybody can get a credit card. I mean, I don't want you to go into complete debt or anything like that to send your groomers to conferences, but it's something that you can even pay on, as far as, I mean, if you don't have that money up front, figuring out how to earn it, and how you price yourself. You have to, I'm going to go up an extra 3% so I can put that towards, this bonus or whatever it is you want to put it towards, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. As we kind of talk about some of the strategies and thoughts you had while growing your team to 12, I'm curious what's next for you guys, because, I always find it funny that once people kind of get into it and start growing, I don't want to say it's hard to stop, but like you kind of love and get addicted to like, thinking what that next goal is, et cetera. And, it's February right now when we're recording this. And so I would imagine not too long ago, you set maybe your 2025 goals. What do those look like for someone like you who's so ambitious and has grown this to, so much bigger than when you got in? So like, what's your 2025 goals, and like, what's your grand vision for Marcy's?
Yeah, I'm definitely a progress junkie. I definitely get a high when I find myself progressing. That's definitely something. But yeah, so we are planning a big remodel. We're going to update boarding, daycare, and then hopefully transition to add some more groomers. I'd like to definitely give my facility a facelift, and because I mean, dogs just wear stuff down. So a huge facelift in the future. I haven't really thought about opening another facility. It's passed through my mind, but right now, just getting the facelift, taking care of what's going on now is kind of the more important thing on my 2025 list.
Okay, I love it. I mean, dude, getting the facelift is no easy task. All right, I mean, that's running a business while at the same time trying to, update that very space that you're trying to make money in. So I can't imagine that that's easy. I'm extremely curious to see what it looks like at the end of the year. So you'll definitely have to send us some pictures, and I would love to post them and see what they look like. Erin, I want to give you a chance to shout out Marcy's, just so people can check you guys out and maybe follow along, or even reach out and get a hold of you guys. Usually folks shout out their website, but feel free to shout out whatever might be the best space to find you.
Yeah, so if you guys want to shoot me an email, you have any questions about growth or employees, or how I put the money aside to send them to conferences, you can shoot me an email at just marcysgrooming@gmail.com.
Awesome. And for anyone curious and just checking out Erin's website, it's www.marcysgroomingandboarding.com, like Marcy's Grooming and Boarding. I love it. Erin, I even like the fact that you got job opportunities and frequently asked questions on your site. Two things I don't honestly see too often. But pretty cool. Well, Erin, thank you so much for coming on the pod today and sharing so much about your story over the last 10 or so years. It's really impressive, honestly, to see what you guys have been able to build, or what really you've been able to build. And I know without any help from your team, it couldn't have got here. But just really cool to see how you were able to take it from quote unquote, just a staff groomer and build it into what it is today. Like, you've got to feel proud. And I know you've probably got your eyes set on like, we got to keep going and it's not done yet, and et cetera. But I think you deserve to take a step back and pat yourself on the back, because this is pretty dang cool what you've been able to do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's the pod. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Groomer podcast. I'm your host, Alex Martin, and today I brought on my new friend, Erin Shawver. Erin has a really interesting story, and she actually came across, I'm not even sure, Erin, how we came across you, but we came across you and we wanted to bring you on the pod because you purchased and took over a salon when you were at the very ripe age of 24, and now you've grown it from, I believe, very humble, one or two employees to a team now. And I always think that's cool. I always think that's inspiring. We have tons of listeners out there that are maybe inspired and aspiring to do something like that one day on their own. So I thought we'd bring on Erin to get a little bit of taste of her background and where and what she's learned along the way. So Erin, I know that was a long intro, but as you can tell, I'm a little bit excited for today's conversation. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So Erin, set the stage for us a little bit before we go back in time. You run Marcy's right now. Tell us, what does Marcy's offer? Where are you guys located? What's kind of the feel, the vibe, the look of Marcy's?
Yeah, absolutely. So Marcy's, we do grooming, boarding, daycare, and we have retail. We are dabbling a little bit in training. We haven't quite got there yet, but we're hoping to move forward with that. We are in the northwest corner of Arkansas. So as I said earlier, it is Walmart country. So we have like the Walmart pest store, which is like 45 minutes away, where we get to see all the cool new products and stuff that they introduce. But yeah, it's Arkansas is definitely hopping as far as everybody kind of moving into that area, and with Walmart providing like tons of jobs.
So I didn't know you were that close to the Walmart kind of campus. If my memory serves me right, wasn't it like last year or something like that? They like did a test trial with grooming.
Yes, they did. Yeah, we got to see that kind of roll out, and I actually stopped by and kind of checked it out. It was, I think it could have worked. I don't know. I don't know that they're really moving forward with it, but it's kind of a pretty neat thing, because I mean, they were dabbling in like you could go get your car tags there, different stuff. So I think them hitting grooming, I think they knew something was there that they could definitely, possibly make some money from.
Were you guys like kind of on edge or nervous being around the
No,
area?
not at all. I think there's plenty of dogs for everybody, so I wasn't too nervous, but it would be nerve-wracking if they started putting a grooming shop in every Walmart. Then I'd start getting a little nervous.
Yeah, no, I remember when that headline went out, and even in the daily community or the Daily Groomer community, people were like, "Oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen?" Yada yada, right? But like, I don't know. I personally, I kind of thought that it would be pretty hard for Walmart to pull off. I haven't heard anything since, but you being in the area is kind of neat that you were able to like check it out and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the idea of like being able to go grocery shopping, you could drop your dog off, go shop for groceries, pick it up when you're done. That does sound, convenient. So
Yeah, you guys didn't lose any clients to Walmart grooming, right?
no, we didn't.
Okay. Yeah, I mean I think that's you make a good point. Like there's so many dogs to go around that like even them being right down the street from you guys didn't lose any clients.